Coulrophobia, an extreme or irrational fear of clowns. Since what seems to be the beginning of time, the horror genre has capitalized on this phenomenon with iconic figures such as the killer clowns from outer space, Captain Spaulding, the Joker, and Pennywise. There's a new guy on the street, though, that's been giving them a run for their money. Welcome to A Work of Art, the Terrifier Review. Slashers are some of the most popular and recognizable characters in media history. Their popularity enduring for so long, they get countless sequels to their films, TV shows made about them, of course, endless merchandise. And it is such a phenomenon when a character becomes as popular because it is difficult to create a new icon. But that all changed kind of recently when Art the Clown came to town in Terrifier. When Terrifier first came out, I didn't really pay it much mind. To me, it was among the ranks of those trash to-be horror movies, right? Dime a dozen, it's gonna fall into obscurity. When I turn it on, it's gonna look like an infomercial. It'll be one and done. Whatever, I'm not gonna bother with it, right? And I was wrong, man. Several years later, it was recommended to me and I checked it out and I loved it. And I found out why it was actually getting the buzz that it was getting. Unlike other movies of its same rank, or as it would seem as its same rank, there's a lot of passion to it. It's very different. It's trying to be a movie. Now, a lot of people would argue it's not a real movie. It's just gore and kills, and that's just it. There's not much to it. Yeah, it's a schlocky slasher, but the thing is, there's, no pun intended, artistry to this movie. Terrifier was made on a shoestring budget of $35,000. Now, while that may sound like a lot of money to have in hand, when making a feature film, it's absolute peanuts. That is so little compared to a lot of movies these days, much less a movie in the indie horror space. Despite the fact that you can actually see that budget on screen, you can very much tell it's a low budget horror movie. The budget is used very creatively. The camera shots are very tight to, of course, avoid showing that there's not really much of a location going on around the actors, but that camera work, the way this film is presented, gives the movie a cold, grindhousey feel. It's actually very effective. And on top of that, Damien Leone did all the makeup and effects himself. This is some Tom Savini level stuff, man. It's excellent. And Art himself looks super professional. You know the term movie quality? That's how he looks. He looks fantastic. Now, I know, yes, this is a movie, but I'm referring to that term when it's used for, like, bigger budgeted things. Art looks like he's from a bigger budgeted slasher. He looks fantastic. And so do the practical effects and kills in this. There was one kill that made my jaw drop and cemented my love for this movie because of how gruesome and real it looked. You know the one. That scene is what told me that slashers were back in a big way, man. The horror genre as a whole had been seeing a sort of renaissance from that point and has been onward from then, but slashers were really quiet for a long time up until Art came onto the scene. Damien Leone, I think, is responsible for this slasher renaissance we've been seeing. There's a glut of them now, and I really think that's a great thing because the slasher genre is so fun and it's cultivated a lot of memories for me and for a lot of horror fans. Now, as much as I've been praising this movie, I have to admit, it's kind of a hard movie to talk about because, frankly, there's no story. There's almost no writing here at all. It's one slasher sequence following right after another. And any other movie like this that had that going for it would actually be considered a bad movie. And there are people that don't like this movie. But I think that Terrifier stands out because of the clear passion that has gone into it. And the way art is written is really effective. He's really creepy.
What the fuck?
And that's attributed to David Howard Thornton's performance. The guy is a real talent. But the creepy factor isn't all he brings to the table when it comes to art. Art is actually kind of a multifaceted performance. Art can be funny too, as well as creepy. And in his own weird way, he's also kind of charming. And David Howard Thornton does this all without speaking. It's common to think that when an actor is playing a silent slasher, that it must be just the easiest performance in the world. But it actually isn't. It's actually harder because you need to output more of that expression. Whenever you see Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, more than likely you have your favorite version of that character or the favorite movie that they're from, and it's because of how well they're portrayed in that movie. That's why everyone loves Kane Hodder as Jason Voorhees, because even though he's behind that hockey mask, the way he moves and the way he is so imposing in his presence is why you like Kane Hodder as Jason Voorhees so much. Michael Myers too. Even in a couple of the worst Halloween movies, Michael Myers works because of the actor behind that mask. But when you get into movies like, say, Halloween 2, for example, good movie, but Michael Myers in that is just kind of stiff and robotic, right? And a lot of people attribute that and say, oh, well, it's because he fell out of the window at the end of the first one. Yeah, okay, fine, but it's the actor behind the mask. He's like this, and it's a stiff performance. And when you have a stiff performance behind a mask that the slasher is wearing, you can tell that it's not really a performance that the actor's really giving their all in. And with David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, he's not saying a word, but he doesn't have to because the way he's expressing himself is coming through, which is why we like Art so much. And it's a good thing that David Howard Thornton is giving such a killer performance too, no pun intended, because everyone else is, well, they're trying their best. This movie has the kind of writing that I can't stand in movies sometimes, where it's very much like, how to describe it kind of escapes me at the moment, but it's the kind of writing where people just don't talk like this.
So go. Go. Go where?
You can't just pop a squat in the middle of the street and pee like you do.
But as usual, you have to be the good Samaritan, so here we are. Stuck. Like a couple of assholes.
Now, not everyone's acting and dialogue in this is that unnatural and bad. Samantha Scafidi, who plays Victoria, actually does a pretty decent job as well, but I don't want to get into Victoria too much just yet. I do have quite a bit to talk about with her, but I want to save that for the other two videos, so we'll get to her some other time. But until then, stay tuned. The unnatural acting and dialogue, the lack of story, the essential building blocks to making a movie are what make Terrifier not so much of a movie. So I understand why it doesn't work for some people, even the most diehard of horror fans. For some people, it's just shock. There's no substance here at all. But for many people, including myself, of course, it did resonate with us. And for those of us it did resonate with, we said to ourselves, that was one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. Can Damien Leone even top that? Yeah, he sure can.